Welcome back to Direct Station, where politics and planets collide and converge. I am Kate Carey. It is Monday, February 24th at 12:24 p.m. New York City time. If you are new here, quick primer, this is a place where I bring my background in education and leadership and bridge building across divides to help make sense of what is unfolding around us, with a cosmic perspective thrown in. And yeah, if you're rolling your eyes at the astrology part, I get it. But if you believe the moon pulls the sea, then there's a tiny part of you that is open to the possibility that the bodies in the sky affect the existence of the bodies down here. So, bring your practical knowledge, and I'll bring some perspective of my own, and we can sort through this day by day. Today, the energy feels like it's on the move. We've got these furious town halls erupting in Georgia, Oregon, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, other places too. We've got mass deportations, cruelly transporting innocent refugees to places unknown. We've got government workers losing their livelihoods and their dreams of helping, of teaching, of caring. And our social fabric is frayed as we look around us and don't know who around us sees it all as we do. That is not an accident, and it's not even hard to understand. We're living on ground that is moving beneath us as we speak. We deserve a lot of compassion, friends, from ourselves and from each other. Nobody is really okay. So what's happening up there while all this is going on down here? Occurring right now, what's unfolding, if you think about it, is that our collective shadow is coming into broad daylight, especially and importantly, how we treat the vulnerable, the earnest, and the displaced. Our one rule here remains: do no harm, be kind to me, be kind to each other. We are all drowning in alternative facts, which makes conversation nearly impossible. What I offer is some quick analysis on what is undisputed, what it means according to me, and possibly something bigger than us that helps explain why it's happening. This isn't about which side you're on. Those choices brought us to where we are. It's about who we're becoming, individually and collectively, as we navigate the transformation that astrologically, frankly, looks like the Civil War or the Reformation, or both at the same time. To ignore astrology now is like ignoring the weather report with a hurricane barreling across the Gulf. Oh, the Gulf of, I'm so sorry, but it's Mexico, according to anyone outside of a very small bubble of people who picked a weird fight with international maps. So, let's not ignore the weather report, right? We can't ignore the weather once it arrives, of course, but let's not ignore the weather report so that we need some understanding of what's happening out there as it unfolds around us, so that we have a better sense of what we want to do with these details as they unfurl. So, today we're going to dig into what these town halls reveal about our emotional state, how the deportations connect to deeper patterns of exile, and how these fractures might actually be necessary for what comes next. So, let's go. Today, I want to take a quick look at what astrologers call a nodal shift. It's usually a pretty big deal in terms of the general mood or the category of events that occur in any given time frame. Nodal phases last about 18 months. I'm telling you, this stuff all happens in cycles. Like, if you'll allow, the cycle and human reproductive systems. They're like clockwork, right? Unless something is amiss. So again, if you do or have trusted that 28-day cycle in your body or the body of someone you love, you can trust these cycles. They are all related. So a nodal shift has to do with the north and the south nodes. These nodes are mathematical points. Oh, by the way, there is so much math in astrology. Like, I personally have finally learned 6th grade geometry because I needed to if I was going to understand this stuff at the meanest level. But like if math is reliable to you and this stuff is mathy, you see what I'm saying? Anywho, the nodes are mathematical points that mark the places where the moon's orbit and the sun's arc in our sky intersect. So these points move while we move. No big deal. Just imagine these two circles intersecting like oblong hula hoops. And you've got those places where the hula hoops meet. So as we move, they move. And they just moved into new parts of the sky in early January. January 11th, if you'd like to know such details. I said this yesterday, but repetition might be necessary as we all learn together. So let me say the north node is where we're going and the south node is where we've been. So imagine a drive from Texas to Alaska, and we're halfway there, we're in Oregon. So ahead of us is Washington State, behind us is Nevada. Just like that, the north is our future and the south is what we're finishing, what we've learned. So I want to also say to you, some people, not all people, but some people do think of the north node as fate, what is fated to occur. And the south node is, what have we learned? What ought we learn? What are we finishing with? What do we need to do in order to finish with it? Like if somebody in our caravan is still back in Vegas, we have a problem, you see? So the north nodes and the south nodes changed recently. That axis finished its path in a portion of the sky and has now moved into the Pisces in the north and the Virgo section in the south. So we're heading into Pisces stuff, and we are leaving, hopefully, well, honestly, come hell or high water, kicking and screaming or participating. We are heading out. We are leaving those lessons learned in Virgo themes. So in Pisces, the north node is pointing us towards collective healing and unity through spirit and through each other, while the south node is draining away our attachment to perfect systems and rigid control, to outmoded ideas of servitude and hierarchy. Virgos, you may know, I can testify, I'm guessing you know a Virgo or two, we struggle with this notion that there's just one right way of doing things, right? We struggle with intolerance of imperfection. We struggle with perfectionism. We struggle with, you said that wrong. You did that wrong. You got to go, right? We're hard to love for this reason. And these shadow themes of any Virgo you may know, or any stereotype of Virgos you may be aware of, that's the shit we're trying to leave behind as a people right now. The whole you're doing it wrong, you must be punished thing. Sound familiar? These things don't go without a fight, of course. When systems break down, as they are now, it creates space for something new to emerge. And when we look to Pisces themes for what it might become, importantly in that land of Pisces, that land of compassion, consciousness, imagination, and, dare I say it, romance. This moment represents a profound confluence of cycles that ask us to deal with our shit in order to experience more joy, more benevolence, more ease, right? So if we are able to look at our shadow side, if we are able to look at our stuff, if we are able to look at what we've wrought as a society, what might happen next? So if we were able to look at displacement or cruel uses of power, we are positioning ourselves for a very cool outcome. The promise, I am here to tell you, is written in the stars. So, first thing I want to talk about in the Earth realm is town halls. So all over the country, we're seeing these town halls that are, if you think about it, reminiscent of the very effective ones held by the emerging Tea Party in 2009 and 10. They've been used in the past really effectively as a way to gather and use one's voice and to create a collective or a powerful voice of dissent, of alarm, of resistance. We don't want what you're doing. We didn't ask for it this way. We don't like how this is unfolding. You're not listening to what's really bothering us. You're causing too much harm. This feels dangerous and misguided. These are the messages that came through loud and clear from the Tea Party and the communities mobilized by the uncertainty and vulnerability experienced in the late aughts, and that is what's happening now. Again, this is not necessarily political. It's more instinctive, more guttural, more human than that. What's that about is a few things. There's a pattern in the sky that is related and continuing from that period of time. But this time it's more potent and more likely to cause significant change because so many more elements are converging to have a potent effect. The most important of which, in my opinion, is that Pluto, who was involved last time, is now in Aquarius, while we've got this Mars thing going on. So if you're just joining us, let me say the Mars part real quick. Mars, the planet of war, of action, of doing, of anger, by the way, is in the part of the sky governed by Cancer, the part of the sky governed by raw emotions. You know, feelings, sigh. So while the anger and doing planet, who just yesterday finally stopped dicking around and started moving forward again, albeit slowly, is in the land of raw feelings. Meanwhile, this other guy, Pluto, the planet of depth, of transformation, of raw power. So now we've got raw power and raw emotions in the same story. So track that. Pluto, the planet of raw power and old shit needing to be worked out, is in the territory of the collective. So you've now got Pluto, raw, deep, emotional, transformational power, in Aquarius, the sky territory of the people, interacting with a suddenly moving again Mars, the planet of doing and anger, in the skyland of emotion and protecting home. So yeah, man, the people are beginning to rise up and speak. These two planets, by the way, Mars and Pluto, are going to be opposite each other in the sky in late April. What will it mean? Jupiter, the planet who expands whatever he touches, is in the skyland of Gemini, which is voice, conversation, narrative. Stories and talking and comms are expanding around these raw emotions in this raw, powerful way. Cool, right? Okay, second, you've got these mass deportations to Panama and Guantanamo, elsewhere, where you've got people who are not criminals being rounded up and taken to places that are neither America nor the inhospitable places from which they have fled. You've got women and children holed up, locked up in a hotel in Panama, soon to be placed in a jungle camp at the edge of the notoriously dangerous and deadly Darien Gap. This is terror, y'all. This is a nightmare. This is actually the nightmare of any human, of any parent, of any mother. The image that sticks with me the most is this Afghan woman who is a refugee because she's a Christian in a totalitarian Muslim country, who fled here up through the border with Mexico and was just deported en masse with her children and placed in this hotel. And she's communicating through the window, miming having her head cut off if she's on an airplane flying home. She is writing with nail polish on the window, Afghan. What in the entire world is happening? So, like we said, we have this collective shadow emerging. This who we used to be, that we are going to stop being, emerging. And like any monster, when a thing is dying, it is in death throes. It acts out. It is dangerous. Like, think of the bad guy in any movie, action, I should say. The time he really almost entirely kills our hero is right before he dies. That is the South Node draining our old shit. So if we look at the North Node in Pisces again, we see it's right near the planet Neptune. So one of the important things that Neptune governs is boundaries. So if we stick with the god of the sea as our way to understand Neptune, there is a boundary between the air and the water, right? Neptune, or Triton, can traverse this boundary. He can go up or down. But he guards it, right? Man, does he guard it. I mean, the dude's fight with his daughter in The Little Mermaid is about you shall not pass. I know that's a different movie, but you get the idea. My kids hate it when I do Gandalf, by the way. So Neptune rules the boundaries and the defense or the dissolution of boundaries. He also rules collective suffering, mass movement across water, and hidden realities. Neptune is at the final stage of a particular part of the sky. He is finishing, get this, a 165-year cycle, which gets us to 1860. Any boundaries in play in the 1860s? Any swaths of suffering escalating? The Trail of Tears had only been 30 years prior. Enslavement escalated dramatically in the period leading up to the Civil War. So swaths of suffering escalating and then even ending in the 1860s, you see? When Neptune is finishing its cycle, there is a reckoning with how we treat the other, the one who is not like me. If you look across the entire globe, you will see this pattern playing out right now. You see it? It is infecting the politics of every free nation on Earth. What's fucking haunting is how the rhetoric remains unchanged across centuries. So the same language of invasion, of security, of proper channels is used then and now to justify separating families, creating mass trauma. The deportation of people to Panama and Guantanamo is a particular Neptune and Pisces energy. So hidden suffering in island and water locations, detention centers built on the borderland between the land and the sea. That liminal space where people aren't really allowed to live anymore. This is how the cycle ends. What will we do to cause the finality of the phase? We are clearly about to do something. We don't know yet, but what the planets tell us is that it will end, and we, the people here at this time, are going to cause that change. Pluto in Aquarius tells us so. This gets us to our poem of the day. Worsonshire's poem, Home, it's called, reminds us of the cosmic pattern where the culmination of this brutal cycle that was seeded years ago. This cycle had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it is now bearing its final bitter fruit before Neptune moves to a part of the sky characterized by courage, independence, and leadership. Hold on to your hats and sort out where you, my friends, are going to be the assist. You have the assignment. You're here now on this planet with these people at this time. What in the entire world are you going to do about it? Home. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbor's running faster than you. Breath bloody in their throats, the boy who you went to school with, who kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you, fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck. And even then, you carried the anthem under your breath. Only tearing up your passport in airport hotels, sobbing at each mouthful of paper, made it clear that you wouldn't go back. You have to understand that no one puts their children on a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights on the stomach of a truck, feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled means something more than journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison. because prison is safer than a city of fire, and one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it. No one could stomach it. No one's skin could be tough enough. The go-home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers, sucking our country dry, N-word, with their hands out. They smell strange, savage, messed up their country, and now they want to mess ours up? How do the words, the dirty looks, roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off? Or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs? Or the insults that are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child's body in pieces? I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of a gun. And no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore, unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade the oceans, drown, save, be hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. Let's make everywhere safe, y'all. Let's do what we must to care for ourselves, for each other, for any other you might see, anyone who's not like you, anyone who believes or lives or was born different than you. How can we make every place home? Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming back. If you want to have a conversation about what your assignment might be, I'm happy to do a reading with you. Be well, be conscious, be kind. See you soon.